Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button and become a part of our crew. Okie dokie, you guys, man. So for today, we'll be talking about the first American woman serial killer, the Damsel of Death, Aileen Wuornos, who had killed 7 men. So this is going to be quite a long one. So be sure, grab a drink, grab yourself a snack, go and get your favorite comfy, cozy, true crime blankie, and let's get into it. Alrighty, you guys. Whoo-wee. This is a tough one. So I've watched a lot of different information on this case, of course, and I've heard a lot of people's different opinions on this, and I think my opinion might go differently than most others' opinion about this case. So we will start off by talking about just kind of who she was, her family, how she grew up. I would like to throw in a disclaimer right now, right out the gate. We're going to throw in a disclaimer because this one, boy. So, disclaimer. Today's video will include talks of murder, rape, abuse, and just a terrible, terrible, terrible story. So, if you are triggered by any of those things that I had mentioned, then maybe this just isn't the video for you. So, with that being said, let's jump in. Aileen Wuornos was born February 29th, 1956 in Rochester, Michigan. She was one of 2 children. There were her and her brother Keith. Her brother was born in March of 55, so she was the youngest out of the 2 children. Her parents were Diane Wuornos, which was her mother, and her father was Leo Pittman. So let's dive into her very tragic, horrible, I can't find of a more descriptive word than just absolutely horrific childhood. It starts out with her mother and her father. Her mother was 14 years old when she married Aileen's father, who was just 16 years old at the time. So they were very, very young when they got married. They got married on June 3rd, 1954, 2 months before Aileen would be born. Her mother, Diane, had filed for divorce. That was short-lived. Her father would be arrested for the rape and attempted murder of a 7-year-old child. Ugh, how terrible. Makes you question things, doesn't it? So her childhood is already off to a terrible start. Her father would be diagnosed with schizophrenia January 1969. He committed suicide by hanging himself in prison. Goodness gracious. So Aileen did not have much of a relationship with this man, and honestly, by the sounds of him, I'm kind of leaning towards thank goodness. But her crazy, terrible childhood does not stop there by any means. Aileen's mother would describe her and her brother as crying, unhappy babies. I can only imagine, this 14, 15-year-old girl, she's got these 2 small children, and she is just in the mindset where, hey, I am not done being a kid myself. These children are always crying, they're always unhappy. What can I do? Well, this is what she would do. She would then take Aileen and her brother Keith to her parents' house and drop them off. And then she never came back. I am a mother myself, so I could never imagine just taking my children to my mom's house, dropping them off, and never going back. What? That is so odd to me on so many different levels. So, I don't know, maybe now you're thinking like, oh, thank goodness, she's getting away from that life that she was living with her dad who killed himself, and like her mother who just thought that her and her brother were, crying unhappy babies, and she's just like, I don't want to do this anymore. What was I thinking? No. Like, oh, okay, cool. She's, they're with their grandparents now. Like, yay. Finally, some good news. No. No, 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 ma'am. It gets worse. How? How, you ask? How could it ever get worse than what she's already gone through? Well, the grandparents had adopted both the children, and then more trouble starts from there. At 6 years old, Aileen would suffer from facial burns and scarring when her and her brother would be setting lighter fluid fires. Like, hello, where's the supervision here? 6 years old? And they're able to get away with starting fires using lighter fluid. That's suspicious. The grandfather would beat Aileen, and Eileen's grandmother was an alcoholic, so she was not there most of the time to stop him, or if she was there, she did not pay much notice because she was just getting her drink on. She's just like, whatever, drinking here, don't bother me. Ugh, what? How could you sit by while a child is being hurt like that because of drinking? No, ma'am, not okay. I know what you're thinking. Maybe. Like, Kila, I know that's got to be as bad as it gets, right? Because, like, how could it get worse? There's no way. Like, tell me it doesn't get worse. Sorry to say, I can't tell you it does not get worse, because it gets much worse. At 11 years old, Aileen would start trading sexual favors for money, cigarettes, and alcohol. 11 years old? Think back to what you were doing at 11 years old. Could you imagine trading sexual favors for money, cigarettes, and alcohol? I didn't even smoke my first cigarette until I was like 14. So I could never imagine like smoking and drinking at 11. Whoa. That's really early on. During junior high, Aileen would start exhibiting hearing loss, vision problems, and problems in school in general. So she's not doing bad already. Let's just add some more onto her plate. Her IQ was established at 81. An IQ of 70 is considered mental retardation. School officials tried to get Aileen in counseling, and they administered a mild tranquilizer to improve her behavior. What? I have never heard of a school being able to administer, like, hand out medication unless, like, it's on file and, like, the parent requests their child to be given this medication, but the school just decided to hand her some tranquilizers? Is anybody else thinking this is weird? Because, I think it's weird. If I ever found out that my children's school was giving them tranquilizers, I'd be like, excuse me. No. Absolutely not. Absolutely not happening. Okay. Then, unfortunately, it just keeps getting worse. This story, honestly, broke my heart in so many different ways and had me so torn. I have been torn in two by this. At 14, Aileen was raped by her grandfather and a lot of his friends. 14 years old. She then became pregnant by one of his friends. In the end, she did end up giving that baby up for adoption. Honestly, that is probably got to be one of the hardest decisions a mother could ever make, but in this situation, I think she made the correct decision. But that's also not my place to say. I'm just saying, like, I can't imagine how hard it already was for Aileen. But then to add a baby into the mix, it would have just been so hard on her. When Aileen's grandmother passed away, Aileen's grandfather would threaten to kill her and her brother if they did not leave his house. And this was like late 14, early 15 for Aileen. So at that time, Aileen would leave her grandfather's house and she would start living in the woods and hitchhiking around the country. Nothing good ever comes from hitchhiking. I'm just saying. So if you guys watched my last video, that's pretty apparent. After her brother's death at age 21 of cancer, she then would move to Florida to work as a prostitute. She was constantly in trouble with the law, including with prostitution. She had also been arrested for illegal possession of a firearm, forgery, assault, and robbery. Police often described her in their notes from her arrest as erratic and easily angered. The police often noted in their notes that she had, quote unquote, poor attitude. In 1986, Aileen met Ty Moore. Yeah, this lady. They met at a bar in Daytona Beach, Florida. They hit it off right away and started an intense romantic relationship. Aileen would say that Ty was the love of her life, which is just so cute and adorable. This would be her second relationship with a woman, which back in this time wasn't the norm, but her clients as a prostitute were all mostly men, middle-aged, low to middle class white men. So let's pop in to the victims. Victim number one, which might be one of the, I don't want to say most important victim, but he just seems to be a little bit more different than the others. The first victim is Richard Mallory. Richard Mallory was an electronic shop owner in 1989. He was a 51-year-old white male who picked up a prostitute along I-75 in Florida. A Volusia County deputy discovered his body several miles away from his abandoned car in a wooded area. He had been shot multiple times in the chest. And something to note about this man is he was also a convicted rapist. At the time, the police wouldn't know this. Well, I don't know. They said they didn't know this, but whatever. Aileen had said that when Richard Mallory had picked her up, he had tried to strangle her and rape her. And that's why she killed him, in self-defense. She also said the police knew she had killed Richard by all of the evidence that she had left behind, but that they had covered it up. That's her explanation of why she didn't get caught right off the bat. They wanted her, this is her words, they covered up the killing of Richard Mallory because they wanted her to continue on killing and become a serial killer. Victim number 2 was David Spears. David's nude body, a 43-year-old construction worker, was found June 1st, 1990 in Citrus County. He had been shot 6 times in the torso. Victim number 3 was Charles Carcadon. I hope I'm saying that right, but it's spelt kind of odd. A few days after David's body had been found, the body of Charles, 40-year-old, was discovered in Pasco County. The part-time rodeo worker was shot 9 times in the chest and stomach. Whoa. Talk about overkill. Victim number 4, Troy Bierris. Sorry about the pronunciation. Marion County cops found Troy's body. It's so weird to hear Marion County because I grew up in Marion County, Oregon. 50-year-old sausage salesman on August 4th, 1990, less than a week after he was reported missing. Although the body was pretty decomposed, the medical examiner was able to determine the cause of death was 2 gunshots to the torso. Victim number 5 was Charles Dick Humphreys. He was a retired Air Force major, police chief, and Florida child abuse investigator. Keeping in mind, all of these men met Aileen due to her being a prostitute. I'm not trying to victim blame or anything like that, but I'm just like, you probably shouldn't have been there. That's all I'm saying. Dick's body was found in Marion County on September 12th, 1990. The body was fully clothed and had multiple gunshot wounds to the head and torso. His car was later found in Suwannee County. Victim number 6 was Peter Sims. 65-year-old Peter left Central Florida headed for New Jersey in June of 1990, but he would never make it to New Jersey. His car was found in Orange Springs on July 4th, 1990. Although Peter's body has never been found, witnesses did put Aileen and Ty around his car in Orange Springs because they had wrecked the car, and when a family came outside to see if they needed help, they're like, "No, we're fine," and then just started running away. So those people thought it was kind of weird that they were just taking off after a car accident and their car was pretty beat up, and they called the police. And they later found palm prints inside the car. And then the last and final victim of Aileen would be Walter Antonio. He was found partially naked in a remote area in Dixie County on November 19th, 1990, at the age of 62. He had been shot 4 times in the back of the head. His car was found 5 days later in Brevard County. Aileen had first confessed to the murders to her girlfriend Ty. One day, while Ty was sitting there watching TV, Aileen just walked in the door and said, "I shot and killed a man today." And that was that. Ty would end up working with the police to put Aileen away. So, one of the only people that she loved and cared about and trusted would end up betraying her. And I mention that because Aileen had stated that she felt betrayed most of her life. Aileen described the self-defense she used against these men that she shot, that it was like a condom that she was using against AIDS. She really, really, really did not like men. And to a point, if we can kind of just take the murders out of the equation for a moment and just think of her as just a human being, can you really blame her for not liking men? Look at what happened to her whole life. She had been arrested at a bar. It was called The Last Resort. She ordered her first beer at 11 a.m. She began hustling quarters so she could play her favorite song on the jukebox. While hustling up quarters, she came across 2 undercover police in the bar. They had convinced her to go outside. She was met by 6 Florida police officers who had arrested her. From the very first police interview, she was asking for the electric chair. There have been many, many movies made about Aileen and many, many books written about her. One of the movies is called Overkill, the Aileen Wuornos story. And another one you guys might recognize is the movie Monster that was made about Aileen. Aileen had pled not guilty to the murder of Richard Mallory, but she pled no contest to all of the others. In the end, she would be sentenced to death for all 6 of the other ones that she pled no contest to. And then she would also be sentenced to death for Richard Mallory's murder. Her response to that was, and I quote, "Thank you. I'll be sitting in heaven while you all rot in hell." She then looked at the district attorney and said, quote, "May your wife and kids get raped," end quote. So, with the victim, Richard Mallory, it was later found out that he had been convicted of rape. Aileen stood by her story that she had killed Richard due to him trying to rape and kill her, strangle her. And the police were not having it. They were not listening to it. They did not want to hear anything more about Richard Mallory being a rapist. Well, in November of 1992, a Dateline NBC reporter had discovered that Richard Mallory had served 10 years in prison for a violent rape in another state. Detectives had previously denied any evidence existed to corroborate Aileen's claims. Another way that Aileen had been tied to the murders is she would rob these men after she had killed them, and then she would go and pawn their things, and the police would find these pawned items with her fingerprints on them. So it would be tied back to her, and then because of all of her previous arrests, her fingerprints were in the system. It was later revealed that Ty had sold her story to several book and movie deals, as well as 3 detectives on the case who had lied and said that they sold their stories and gave the money to the victims, which they never did. While in prison fighting in her case, Aileen, she had said that both of her lawyers were only on her case to gain publicity, and they were telling her different ways that she could kill herself in prison. She also said that every time she would go to the warden and voice concerns or write a grievance, that they had installed some type of like noise thing. I don't know what it was really called, but she said that it would like send radio waves through her head and just crush her head, and every time she complained they would turn up the volume, and that they were trying to drive her crazy because she did not believe that she was crazy. In court, Aileen told the judge, "I want to confess to you that Richard Mallory did violently rape me, but the others did not. They only began to rape me." On October 9th, 2002, Aileen Wuornos was executed by lethal injection at Florida State Prison. She opted out of having a final meal and only wanted one single black cup of coffee. Her last statement was, and I quote, "I'd just like to say I'm sailing with the Rock, and I'll be back like Independence Day with Jesus. June 6th, like the movie, big mothership and all, I'll be back." That is the story of Aileen Wuornos. Oh goodness, boy, where do I start? So, I've seen a lot of people's opinions on this story and what they think. I am sad for the victims, but I do not think that Aileen should have been given the death penalty, and I honestly don't feel like she should have went to prison, because the court psychiatrists are the ones who found her fit to stand trial, and I really just don't think that was the best decision. I feel like she was very mentally unstable. It was very obvious that she was mentally unstable, and of course I'm not a psychiatrist, so like this is just my opinion, but oh my goodness, why didn't she get put in like a mental institution somewhere? Okay, so let me get up closer so you guys can see the look. Can you guys guess what it's supposed to be? I hope so. Alright, let me know what you guys think of the makeup look down in the comments. Let me know what you guys thought about this video. And yeah, I just really, I feel bad for the victims, of course, that they were kind of like victims of this terrible life that Aileen had. And do I think she would have been a serial killer if she would have had a better upbringing? In my honest opinion, no, I don't think she would have been. If she would have been loved and cared for, I don't think this would have been the outcome for her life. And that just makes me so, so sad. That's why I like to know about these people's backgrounds and their home life, their parents, how they were treated while they were growing up. Because I think that has a lot to do with why people do these heinous crimes. So that is all I have for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think. I have so much fun doing these videos and I want to keep it up. So if you guys have any suggestions on somebody else you would like to hear about, leave it down in the comments and I will check them out. So that is all I have for you guys today. I hope you have a wonderful, fantastic day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.